It's time for Living with Victory, a program of hope and encouragement brought to you by Friends of Compassion and listeners like you. Now, here are your hosts, Tony and Laureen Giorgio, with today's message of perseverance.
Jesus is with me when the storm clouds gather, when the winds of this world are blowing strong.
Another great day. Welcome to Living with Victory, proving life isn't about waiting for the storms to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. You've heard that a million times. Giving you peace, power, and joy through perseverance and faith, above all in Jesus Christ. That's what we're all about. And a couple of quick reminders. You can email us your comments at livingwithvictory@gmail.com, or you can call 828-926-4600. Later on, our announcer, Tim Hodges, will have additional contact information and where to donate to the ministry. Now remember, our partners, the Journey Christian newspaper, is a free print and online publication offering encouraging articles, local Christian events, as well as world and local news from a Christian perspective. Visit JourneyChristianNews.com, the Journey Christian newspaper, encouraging Christians on their walk with Christ. And also, in that same vein, the first annual Christian Business Expo will be held Saturday, October 20th, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Western North Carolina Ag Center in Fletcher, North Carolina. You can get more information by logging on to WNCChristianExpo.com or call Jeff over at 828-676-6535. This is sponsored by the Journey Christian News, and they are going to have a lot of Christian businesses, ministries exhibiting. They're even going to have things for the kids to do, seminars, presentations. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So just remember that. It's October 20th, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And now I want to welcome my wonderful sidekick, as you know, for 45 years. Hey, Laureen.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here with everyone talking about how we can live with victory with Christ. We're going again over James 1:6-8. Only it must be in faith that he asks, with no wavering, no hesitating, no doubting. For the one who wavers, hesitates, or doubts is like the billowing surge out at sea that is blown hither and thither and tossed by the wind. For truly, let not such a person imagine that he will receive anything he asks for from the Lord. For being as he is a man of two minds, hesitating, dubious, irresolute, he is unstable and unreliable and uncertain about everything he thinks, feels, or decides. These verses are so good because it just tells us that if we only stay with Christ and keep going and not doubt, your answer is there. And Tony has a story today that I hope will touch your heart.
This is about a fellow by the name of Nick Vujicic. This boy was born without arms or legs, just a torso. And at the bottom of the torso was a little foot with two toes. And when the parents were told about the birth, I mean, it was just devastating and depressing, except for the fact that the parents had strong faith and they kept thinking that God must have had some reason for giving them such a son. But they didn't. And they never treated Nick as someone who had a disability. They treated this little guy just like the other children. They never made him feel like he just didn't have what everybody else had. Now, you know, it wasn't easy for him. I'm not saying that, wow, he just came through and he just didn't bother with his disability or anything, didn't bother. This boy went to school with other schoolmates who were playing and jumping, and looking at him like he was not only physically disabled, but they thought he was mentally challenged also. And there were a lot of times when he would go hide in an empty classroom and just lament over how they were treating him. But he would always know that God put him here for a purpose. He felt strongly about that. Here he is without arms or legs, and we look at sometimes what is wrong with us and what we're deficient in, whether it's money or physical. He can't get around. He can't get around. Do you know how he used to get up to be upright from a laying down position? He would take his head and lean it against the wall and push himself up onto his torso, and he would be upright. What he would do at school, he would just interact like a normal kid. He'd play around with the kids. He had one foot on his torso, they say. He was born with this little foot with two toes, okay, that were fused together. And the doctor and the parents thought if they unfused the toes and operated, that he could actually use them for fingers rather than toes. And they operated. And do you know that Nick operated an electric wheelchair, a computer, and a cell phone with those two toes?
God says use what you have, not worry about what you don't have.
And he had a gift, and you know, we're saying the family treated him just like another child that they had with no problems. The cousins who lived with him did the same thing, and kids are kids, you know, and they'd kid around and they'd call him all kinds of funny names, but they were strengthening him is what they were doing, to be just like everybody else and not feel so badly about himself. They went to a mall, and the kids, the cousins, were with them, and they were yelling, "Hey, look at that kid in the wheelchair. He looks kind of funny, don't he? He must be disabled, demented," all kinds of stuff. And they would laugh hysterically. And people around were shocked that they would do this to a disabled person. Who are these kids? But they were all family, and they were helping him to really toughen up. And he would go out into school, and he would try to make friends. He'd talk to people, and he showed them that he really wasn't any different than they were. And by the time he was in his teenage years, they accepted him, and he would encourage them because of what he was going through. He didn't let that stop him at all. And he got to be friends with kids in the school, and they didn't make fun of him anymore because of that gift of talking. They invited him to speak at churches, at all kinds of events. And you got to realize, how is he getting around? Do you realize that he got up there in front of hundreds and thousands of people, and he gave talks on what he went through, but how he overcame it. Unwavering faith was his mantra. He knew that God put him on this earth for a purpose. His parents gave him that gift of God. He was known as a child of God. And it sank in. As I think back, we saw Nick in person, I think in Florida. I remember the guy rolling out on a skateboard and picking himself up and sitting up.
You know, we have everything going for us at times, and we feel in our minds that we don't. Attitude is everything, and trusting in God is everything. But when you feel that you have nothing, you can't appreciate that you do have everything going for you. And here, this person that has really had his arms and legs gone and had this difficult way of getting around, to him, life was normal. And
exactly.
He was determined to make it and help others.
The essential truth is each of us has a gift, a talent, a skill, a craft, a knack that gives us pleasure and engages us, and the path to our happiness often lies within that gift. He used what he had. What did he have? His mouth. He talked. He was personable. He had faith. He had strength. Like he says, he found the path to his purpose while trying to reach out to his classmates. And this became history because he is a world-renowned speaker. He's been all over the world speaking to people and encouraging people about God and how God has used him to reach all kinds of people in hospitals, stadiums, you name it. Think of it. He could have been just sitting in a nursing home. But that unwavering faith, folks, that we talk about every single week, but he gave everything. And let me tell you what he did. Here's something to really think about. He's talking at a high school, and a girl raised her hand. She got the courage to raise her hand to come up, and she wanted to hug him. Now, understand, he would never be able to hug anybody. He would never be able to feel what we all do. He knew that. She wanted to give him a hug, and he invited her up on the stage and said, yes, come ahead. She hugged him, and the best hug he'd ever had. The room was completely in tears, including him. He'd lost it. And then she whispered in his ear, nobody has ever told me that I'm beautiful the way I am. No one has ever said that they love me. You've changed my life, and you are a beautiful person. Understand this from Nick's mouth, and that body that doesn't function and doesn't look functional, he probably saved this young girl's life. With faith, anything is possible. So, in conclusion, you have to recognize your purpose, and it means everything. You too have something to contribute. You may not see it now, but you would not be on this planet if that were not true. He knows for certain that God does not make mistakes. He doesn't. But he does make miracles. And Nick says he's one of them, and so are you. And this is out of the Plus magazine. Remember that. We're telling you, we've been through some stuff, and here's a perfect example. And his book is Life Without Limits. You want to take a look at it in the bookstore, you should, because this boy has done what we've been talking to you about for years. Well, I think Laureen has something to say. I got so much to say. I've said it all. I know.
Oh, it really is so inspiring to hear something like this. It makes me want to do more. If you want a CD for today's show, that offer is 12-911. Or if you would like my CD going through my breast cancer test of faith, we would be happy to send these to you free of charge. If you would just email us at livingwithvictory@gmail.com.
Remember, next week, we're going to tell you the story about Robert Schuler's daughter, Carol Schuler, after her motorcycle accident, 7 months in a hospital and losing a limb. So tune in for the rest of the story. And till next week, this is Tony
and Laureen Giorgio. Live a life with victory this week.
Yes, amen. God bless you all. Have a great one.
You've been listening to Living with Victory with your hosts Tony and Laureen Giorgio, who for 30 years have advocated for seriously ill children through their foundation, Compassion for Kids. Many families who have children that receive daily treatments for their illnesses are extremely challenged to even begin to get their kids the life-saving treatments they need. Compassion for Kids is there to lend a hand. That is our mission, and you can become a partner in helping. Support for this radio ministry comes from Friends of Compassion and listeners like you. Your tax-deductible donations can be sent to Compassion for Kids, P.O. Box 1982, Maggie Valley, North Carolina, 28751. You can also donate through your PayPal account by logging on to livingwithvictory.org. Tony is available to speak to your group or church members. You can call him at 828-926-4600. Join us again next week at this time for another uplifting story of dancing in the rain. Thanks for listening.